Hi and welcome back. My sincere apologies in advance if I sound a little bit weird because I'm suffering from viral and I'm slightly disorientated. So yes, please forgive me if I sound a little weird. It's just that I had promised you that I would be posting two videos every week, one on Monday and the other on Thursday, and I did not want to skip the Thursday's video. So I decided to go ahead and record a video. Also, one more thing. The next video that I'm going to post, which is on Monday, will be about an application that I created. It's called a handy code viewer, as you can see in the image. I will not only be explaining about this application in Monday's video, but I will also give it to you for free. To get it for free, you will have to watch this current video completely. I will be dropping 5 magic words during this entire video. Do watch Monday's video in case you want this application. There I will tell you what to do with these magic words. So the first magic word is Apple. So coming back to this video. In this video, we will learn about user-defined data types. A user-defined data type, also referred to as UDT, is a data structure which lets you create a single data type which may represent multiple data types. If you're not aware of what VBA data type is, then I highly recommend watching my video, which is variables, constants, and data type. So a user-defined data type can have multiple data types like long, integer. It can also have an array in it or a previously defined user-defined data type. We will cover all of these in this video. Right, let's take an example of a fruit vegetable vendor to understand this in a much more better way. We will now launch the Visual Basic Editor. If you're not sure what Visual Basic Editor is, then I recommend watching the video Visual Basic Editor and Introduction. We will press the shortcut key Alt F11 to launch the Visual Basic Editor. Once the Visual Basic Editor is launched, right-click on the VBA project and under Insert, click on Module. A type is a collection of variables or fields. You can create a user-defined type using the type statement. The syntax is type name, field 1 as data type. This can be a basic data type like string, integer, boolean, etc. Field 2 as data type. This can be an array. Field 3 as data type can be another user-defined type, and so on. And end type. As I mentioned, having different variables can be messy. So using UDT allows you to define a single variable to access all the fields. You define custom data types at the top of your module. They are not defined inside a procedure. And once you have defined your type, you can use the dim statement to declare a variable of that type. Let's define a type of vendor details. Before we go ahead, the second magic word is both. Type vendor details. Now let's declare some fields. For example, item name as string. Then let's have item type as string. Let's have next field for quantity. So item quantity as double. The cost price of the item, which is, let's say, cost price as double. Then we have selling price. Whether the item is seasonal, true or false. And finally, let's have one more field which is called discounts, if you want to give any discounts. So item discounts. Double. And to close this, we use end type. So we have declared a type vendor details. Now I'm going to declare a procedure called sub vendor example. To use your user defined type in a procedure, declare its variable like any other variable. And to store values, simply use the variable name and the period. So I'm going to declare a variable called dim v details. as vendor details. To assign values, type vdetails, then period, and then you'll get all the list of fields that you had mentioned earlier in the about type. So I'm going to store, let's say, a fruit called apple. So I'll select .item name is equal to apple. If you've got multiple details that you need to fill, then you can use the with and with statement to make the code easier to manage. If you're not aware how to use the with and with statement, then I highly recommend watching the video Understanding Excel Object Model in Office 365. I have covered the with and with statement in that video. So I will type with before vdetails, and just before the period I'll press the enter key and then tab to indent the code. And then I'll press enter key again. Here, what is the type of this item? It's a fruit. So item type, which is this, equal to fruit. Next is item quantity. I need to understand what is my cost price for an item quantity and how much I should be selling it for. Let's say it's 1 kg. So I'm going to type 1. And the cost price is 45. And I decide that the selling price should be 65. So I can put all those details here. Now, is this item, which is an apple, a seasonal fruit? Yes, because it is not available throughout the year. So I'll type .seasonal is equal to true. And finally, am I going to give any discounts? Let's say I want to give 10% discount on the total selling price. So I'll type period item discount is equal to 0.1, which is 10%. And I will close the with statement using end with. So this is how you assign values. To access the values, you can use the same method, that is typing the variable name and using the period. For example, to check and retrieve the item name, you can use the message box function, msg box, and then vdetails dot item name. Let's run this. Click the Run Sub User Form button or simply press the shortcut key F5. When I run this, it gives me the name of the item, which is apple. You may have a question. Why to use user-defined types when we can achieve the same thing using multi-dimensional array, as we saw in the video VBA arrays in Excel 365 for Windows, or even collections or dictionaries? So why use user-defined types? A pretty valid question, I must agree to that. As far as collections and dictionaries are concerned, I will cover them next week, so I'm going to keep that aside for a moment. In multi-dimensional array, the major limitation is that all the dimensions in the array has to be of same data type. A user-defined type, where you can have multiple data types combined as one single data type, it overcomes the limitation of the multi-dimensional array. Also, the UDT is much more efficient than a collection and a dictionary. A UDT can also be passed as a property value, or it can be used as a public function declaration. Now let's see how can we create a local array of the user-defined type. Let's insert a module. Before we continue, the third magic word is sky. I'm going to declare a procedure called sub UDT array example. The type is declared in module 1, and here we have not declared it as private type. Had it been private type vendor details, then I would not have been able to access this in module 2. So I'll delete this. I've spoken about declaring variables as public and private in variables, constants, and data types. So if you have not seen that video, or if you're not aware how to declare your variables, then I would recommend watching that video first. So let's declare an array which can hold, let's say, 2 items. So I'll type dim vdetails 1 to 2 as vendor details. Here I have declared the array as 1 to 2. I can also type just 1 here. Both are correct. To understand this in detail, in case you're not aware how arrays work, and what's the lower bound, what's upper bound, then I would recommend watching the video VBA array in Microsoft Excel 365 for Windows. Okay, so we'll continue with 1 to 2. To store values into this array, we can use the same method that we did in module 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this from here and I will paste it here. Since this is an array, I have to add 1 here to write to the first element, and rest everything remains the same. Similarly, I can fill the second item of the array. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to change this to 2. This time I'm going to add a vegetable. So let's say carrot. So item type will be vegetable. Quantity remains 1. Cost price is, let's say, 15. I want to sell it for 25. Is it seasonal? No, it is available throughout the year. So I'll say false. Discount I can give up to 15%. So I'll make it 0.15. To access a particular field of a particular element of the array, I can do the same thing as I did here. So I will just copy this here and I will paste it here. Let's say I want to get the item name from the second element. So all I have to do here is just add the parenthesis, the number 2, and close the parenthesis. So when I run this, I will get carrot. If I want, let's say, the cost price of element 1, then I will change this to 1 and then I will type dot cost price. I should get 45 and I do get that. Similarly, you can access other items. So till now we have seen how to declare the type at the top of the procedure, how to declare a variable using that type, and how to store and retrieve the values from that variable. Similarly, I've used an array to do the same thing. Just like we created and used a local array of the user-defined type, you can also create nested user-defined types. Now, where can we use this? Let's say you want to create employee details. So let's create a type called employee details. What I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a module first. Time for the fourth magic word, which is Paris. Here, I will declare my type as employee details and end type. The first field that I want to declare is employee first name as string. And then I want employee last name as string. And I also want to, let's say, capture the employee date of birth. So I'll type employee DOB as date. Now let's say I also want to store the address of the employee details. Either I can say employee address as string, and I can store the entire address into this string, which is first line of address, second line of address, city, county, country, zip code, etc., etc. Everything into one variable. Or I can declare one more type called employee address, which can hold individual details like first line of address, second line of address, city, state, zip, county, etc. And then we embed that type into this type. So we can have a nested type. This way, in the future, if I have to print, let's say, mailing labels, then everything can go into each line separately. Also, this will ensure that the data is organized. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this and I'm going to declare a type emp address. Type emp address and type. The first field that I can have is first line of address. Similarly, we can have second line of address. The next field I want is for city. So city as string. Let's add one field for state, one for zip, and let's say country. And we are done. Now we will use this in employee details. So I will type employee address as and then emp address. See how I have used the first type in the second type. This is called nested user-defined types. Now let's create a procedure called nested UDT example. So I'm going to type sub nested UDT example. So I'm going to declare my variable dim empl employee, let's say, as employee details with empl end with, and let's fill up some values. Dot employee first name is equal to Sid. Dot employee last name is equal to Rout. Dot employee date of birth is equal to, let's give any fictitious date. So #1/1/1977. Obviously, this is not my real date of birth, it's just a demo date. Now let's fill up the address details of Sid. To do that, again, I'm going to use with, and then I will type dot employee address. Once you have typed this, how will you access the first line of address, second line of address, city, state, zip, country, etc.? It's the same thing like you did here. You will do that here as well. So enter tab dot first line of address is equal to 007 Phoenix Heights. Let's say we don't have a second line of address, so we don't need to fill that. City, Mumbai. Zip code 400000. For demonstration purpose, I'm just using fictitious details. Country, India. And so on. You can add more details if you want. And then I will close the with statement and with. Now, to access the values, you can use the same method that I demonstrated earlier. So if you want to see the employee last name, just type msg box empl dot employee last name. Similarly, if you want to access the zip code, or let's say the city, then what you have to do is msg box empl period and then address. Now the city is in employee address, so I have to type period again and then select the city. So now when I run this, see what happens. I will get the last name first, which is Rout, and then I get the city name, which is Mumbai. So we saw how to nest a user-defined type inside another user-defined type. One very important thing, ensure that you create and place the type before using it in another type. For example, EMP address should be before employee details because this is where we are using it. So it has to be declared before. If you don't do that, and if you, let's say, declare it after the employee details, then you will get a compile error, forward reference to user defined type. So when I run this, see what I get. Forward reference to user defined type. This means I'm trying to use a UDT even before declaring it, and hence you should always declare it first before using it. Using user-defined types can really empower you. It not only helps you in managing your data in a more structured way, but it also helps you create relationships between the data types. This is usually useful when you are creating applications. Before we go ahead, the final magic word is Fox. Right, let's do a quick recap. In this video, we learned about user-defined types, commonly known as a UDT. A UDT is a data structure of a single data type which may have multiple data types, or an array, or a previously defined UDT. We also saw in this video how to store and retrieve values from an array inside a UDT. We also saw how to nest one UDT inside the other. If you still have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, or you can also email me on support@teamexcel.com. And also a quick reminder, I will be posting 2 videos every week, one on Monday and the other on Thursday. If you like the way I explain things, and if you like my commitment towards this channel that even if I'm ill, I will post a video, then go ahead and extend your support towards this channel by watching a couple of videos, dropping few likes, and if you still have not subscribed to this channel, then go ahead and subscribe to it by clicking on the bell icon. And I will see you on Monday when I bring to you an application which is absolutely free. It's called Handy Code Viewer. And I will have few questions in that video referring to this video. And if you answer those questions correctly, you will get that application free of cost. So I will see you on Monday.